2025 was the year K-pop idols just couldn't catch a break. Careers were shaken, fandoms divided, and one hat managed to turn the internet upside down. As we unpack some of the biggest K-pop controversies of 2025, let's look at how Jungkook literally shook the entire fandom within moments. It all started on June 13th, 2025, literally 2 days after Jungkook was discharged from military duty on June 11th. He surprised fans by popping up at a rehearsal for bandmate J-Hope's Hope on the Stage Encore concert in Goyang, South Korea. During that rehearsal, he was photographed wearing a simple black cap emblazoned with the slogan, "Make Tokyo Great Again." The image of Jungkook grinning in that hat quickly spread online, and it didn't take long for fans to notice. At first, the cap didn't look like anything unusual, but the phrase, "Make Tokyo Great Again," has been adopted by Japanese far-right politicians and nationalist groups, and in South Korea, where memories of Japan's colonial rule from 1910 to 1945 still run deep, such slogans strike a nerve. So when a major Korean celebrity was seen wearing it, many people saw it not as a fashion statement, but as a symbol of Japan's imperial past being casually endorsed. Reporters noted the phrase was inspired by Trump's original slogan, but for Koreans, the resemblance to language used by Japanese ultranationalists was hard to ignore. Korean netizens exploded as soon as the photo circulated. On forums like the Koo and Weverse fan pages, comments poured in demanding explanations and an apology. One user summed up the mood, "If you don't care about world issues, wearing that without thinking deserves criticism." Another fan was even harsher. "There is only so much that could be blamed on being uneducated. How can you not know what that simple phrase means as a Korean? It's embarrassing to call him a Korean star." The South China Morning Post quoted angry fans as well, and one wrote about how interesting the choice of coming straight out of the military and wearing an anti-Korean right-wing hat was. If you want to get into the rest of the most insane K-pop controversies in 2025, be sure to like and subscribe. Overseas fans and media noticed the fuss as well. The Times of India reported comments like, "Not a single staff member stopped this," from viewers who were shocked that no one caught the problem. Meanwhile, the hat itself became a hot topic. After the photo went viral, the brand that made the cap, a Japanese label called Basics, started bragging about it. They posted stories on Instagram showing screenshots of the hat selling out instantly. In other words, the controversy turned into free publicity since the cap sold out within hours. Many Korean fans were flabbergasted, and netizens expressed extreme disappointment in the negative power of fandom-driven consumerism and were baffled by how the hat's sales kept climbing. One comment said, "He should be more careful," and lamented how quickly fans snapped up the hat without thinking. But then the story took another turn. Under growing backlash, Basics Japan issued an apology of their own. The company announced that the slogan was not intended to convey any political stance and insisted the design was simply meant to express their hopes for a thriving Tokyo fashion scene. In other words, they claimed it was just about fashion, not politics. Not everyone was convinced given the timing and history, but the brand tried to cool things off. As the brand settled down, Jungkook stepped up with his own apology. In the early hours of June 14th KST, he wrote on Weverse that he was deeply sorry. In his letter, he admitted he hadn't realized the phrase's weight. He sincerely apologized for the disappointment and discomfort that he had caused people through the phrase that was written on the hat. He said he had been careless for not checking the meaning of the slogan beforehand. Jungkook took full responsibility, writing, "There is no excuse regardless of my reasons. I was lacking and I was careless." Importantly, he confirmed that the hat was immediately disposed of after the incident. To his credit, Jungkook's apology was seen as earnest. He promised to think more deeply before acting in the future and said he would humbly accept any criticism. A lot of fans acknowledged that he seemed genuinely sorry. After all, he did clarify he had no ill intent and claimed ignorance of the slogan's history. In South Korea, where politics and history are sensitive, many accepted his apology since he publicly owned up to the mistake. But that's when fans discovered that Jungkook wasn't the only one. Suddenly, images began circulating of other idols rocking similar "Make X Great Again" hats. BTS's other member RM was also seen wearing a hat with a similar slogan. An Instagram photo from December 2023 showed him wearing a cap that said, "Make Comedy Great Again." Sure, it was less controversial, but fans were already primed to connect the dots and find the similarity between these seemingly harmless slogans and the more serious far-right slogans connected to imperial rule. With Jungkook's hat fresh in everyone's minds, RM's photo didn't slide under the radar for long. But wait, there's more. Over in SM Entertainment, aespa's Giselle also caught flack. She was seen sporting the exact same "Make Comedy Great Again" hat, not once, but twice. Once in a casual clip on the group's YouTube channel, and again in other candid moments. What had once seemed like just another ironic slogan was now raising some serious eyebrows. And then came the wildest twist of all. Fans began drawing connections between Jungkook's hat incident and aespa's Karina. Karina, who had recently dealt with her own political controversy. A month earlier, aespa's Karina found herself under fire for a totally different post, but one that, weirdly enough, ended up in the same conversation. Her scandal was tied to her posting a seemingly aesthetic Instagram pic wearing a black and red jacket, a number 2 on the front, and a rose emoji in the caption. That combo might not ring any political bells globally, but in South Korea, it screamed support for a conservative candidate, and people online did not take it lightly. Fast forward to Jungkook's hat saga, and now everyone's asking, why the double standard? A viral post on X asking this question racked up thousands of likes in hours, as the user wrote, "Why are people suddenly quiet when it's Jungkook, but tore Karina apart like wolves? Where's the same energy?" One user demanded. If Karina got dragged for a red jacket and an emoji, how is Jungkook's literal slogan hat getting a free pass? Now here's where things really took off. Some fans tried to justify the difference by saying that Jungkook probably didn't know what the slogan meant. It's just a spoof. He apologized right away. On paper, it was a solid response, but that only fanned the flames even more. Because suddenly, everyone was dissecting not just the hat, but the way people reacted. One user posted, "Karina got called every name under the sun, while people are bending over backwards to explain away Jungkook's mistake. What changed? Oh right, he's not a woman." Other fans insisted this wasn't about gender, it was about timing. A netizen said, "Karina posted her photo right before the elections when every public figure was being extra careful. Jungkook just got out of the military, he probably didn't think twice." But many fans pushed back hard on the backlash Jungkook was getting. One of the main defenses was that Jungkook apologized before most people even realized there was a problem. He took responsibility right away, admitted what he had done, and made his position clear. He directly said he didn't know the slogan's political meaning, confirmed he wasn't trying to make any kind of political statement, and made sure everyone knew the hat had been discarded. Why did that matter? Because the criticism he was getting was rooted in the assumption that he was aligning with Japanese far-right ideologies. His apology actively addressed those accusations and made his disapproval of that narrative obvious. Karina's response, on the other hand, came much later. She didn't speak up until after her company SM Entertainment issued a statement, and when she did, it was through Bubble, which is a paid fan platform. She said it was a misunderstanding and that she'd be more cautious moving forward, but she never explicitly stated her stance on the actual issue. That left a lot of fans unsure of what she really meant. Some people even pointed out the contrast between this apology and the one she posted after news broke about her relationship with Lee Jae-wook. That one was longer, more emotional, and felt more personal, which led to a wave of criticism asking why she seemed more apologetic for dating than for something politically charged. Turns out, 2025 had even darker stories brewing behind the scenes. KG's departure from VCHA caught fans off guard, but what truly shook everyone was the claim she made about JYP's US division. Now she has laid all the accusations out clearly, backing it all up with solid evidence, and with that kind of proof, JYP is now facing a serious situation that's difficult to ignore or explain away. While her legal battle with JYP Entertainment is still ongoing, KG decided to speak out publicly. In a recent online post, she shared a Google Drive of her court document and screenshots to support her claims of mistreatment during her time in VCHA. Among the files was a trail of evidence that painted a concerning picture of how injuries within the group were handled. According to the document, several members, including KG, were injured around mid-September 2023. One had back and hip pain, another twisted an ankle, and KG herself tore a tendon in her shoulder on September 14th. But instead of being allowed to rest, she says she was forced to repeat the same move over and over again, up to 100 times, by a dance instructor referred to as BM, who is believed to be Lee Bowman. She wasn't given time to rest, nor was she allowed water during the practice. It took 2 days for anyone in the company to arrange medical attention, not just for her, but for the other members as well. When they finally visited the hospital on September 16th, all of them received injections. KG says she was never told what was in the shot. She included a photo from her camera roll showing herself in a hospital gown that same day, along with receipts from the visit and a close-up of her shoulder showing a vaccine mark where she says the injury happened. Despite all this, KG claims JYP's US team showed no concern for her condition. She added a screenshot from a video dated just 2 days after her hospital trip, showing that the company still had her working, injured or not. Another photo in her post shows her passed out on the floor before a morning lesson on September 26th. According to her, the lack of sleep and non-stop training had pushed her to the edge, and she came to a point where she was so worn out that staying upright had become impossible. KG's leg injury came next, this time in November 2023. And just like before, floor, she says the response from JYP was pretty much the same, dismissive. Though she did receive multiple injections and some form of treatment, rest wasn't an option. The situation got so serious that doctors stepped in and warned her about muscle damage caused by overworking. They clearly told her to stop dancing and take time off, but that didn't happen. Despite the medical advice, JYP staff reportedly pushed her to keep going, brushing aside the severity of the injury. To back it all up, KG shared a photo dated November 23rd showing visible marks on her leg from the treatment. She also included a screenshot from a video file showing her dancing just a day later, proof that she was still being made to work right after getting medical attention. Things didn't stop getting worse. In December 2023, KG suffered yet another injury, this time to her hip. It became serious enough to cause internal bleeding, reportedly from repeatedly doing a move that involved lying on the floor. Even then, she says JYP staff didn't step in to give her a break. Instead, according to the court filing, she was still being made to work over 60 hours a week. The environment was intense. The girls were often pressured to stay late, afraid they would be labeled lazy or not dedicated enough. One of the members was in charge of telling the staff when rehearsals would end, which only added more pressure. Back in November, KG says she pushed herself even harder just to keep up. Staff told her to match the level of Korean trainees who had stayed as late as 1 a.m., so she agreed. That day, she ended up training from 10:30 in the morning to 11 at night. More messages revealed just how deep the pressure from staff really went. On November 28, 2023, KG had a conversation with one of the members who said the company had told them that anyone who didn't stay in practice as long as KG was simply being lazy. This made the rest of the group feel they had no choice but to stay late too, even when it crossed healthy limits. That same chat showed how the pressure started affecting their relationships. The member asked KG if she minded when others left practice earlier and worried that doing so made them bad teammates. It was clear the environment was making them feel guilty for setting boundaries, and possibly pitting them against each other. In another conversation, KG asked the members if they knew their schedule for the next week. Alex Hwang, a JYP staff member, had asked her what she planned to do, and KG was worried that leaving practice early would make her look bad. She admitted she wanted to leave when the others did, but was scared Alex might be upset. One of the girls told her not to worry since they were already staying late anyway. Still, KG felt unsure. She said she was slower than the rest and needed more time, and feared Alex might report her to the company or label her as lazy if she didn't push herself harder. One member tried to comfort her, saying she just needed more time for the moves to sink in, but the anxiety clearly hadn't gone away. One of the clearest signs that things weren't okay came from KG's own messages to her mom. In them, she admits she's been staying at the practice room well past midnight and tells her how drained she feels physically and mentally. In one text, she says, "I go from morning vocal lesson to lunch to 5-hour dance lesson to dinner to Pilates or physical therapy, then back to dance training till 10 to 11 p.m., adding, "I need help." In a different set of messages, KG opened up to her mom about how intense things had gotten. She said that even sitting down for just 5 minutes was enough to get them yelled at by Alex. If anyone tried to rest, Alex would show up, question why they weren't practicing, and then report it to the company, apparently to make herself look responsible. The pressure also extended to what the girls could eat. While they were in Korea, JYP pushed them to eat only the company-provided salads. Technically, it was optional, but the message was clear. Refusing would lead to disappointment or judgment. In a screenshot of a group chat conversation, one of the VCHA members mentioned that staff had asked if they were eating the salads. She admitted she usually did, but added that she had to eat other things too because the salads alone weren't enough to get through exhausting practice days. Still, with their schedules getting even longer, she said she was thinking twice about continuing with it. The girls also shared how they were tired of eating the same thing all the time and wanted a change. To make them feel guilty, the company reportedly told them that not eating the salads would be wasting food. Things got worse when Alex told the members that gaining weight would only make dancing harder. In another conversation, someone from the company said their performances were weak and lacked energy, blaming it on the fact that they were dieting too hard, as if they weren't the ones responsible for it. Then there were the comments from staff like Won Jong-ho, who basically told the girls things like, "Lose weight or you'll regret how you look," and on another occasion bluntly said, "Don't eat." These remarks left the members anxious about food and made them feel guilty for eating anything more than what they were told to. Every month, the company insisted on measuring the members' weights, despite none of them agreeing to it, making it feel like the company was more concerned about their weight than their actual health. KG shared a screenshot revealing a hurtful comment from a staff member. KG believed the remark was aimed at one of the girls who was already struggling with an eating disorder. At that time, she was so consumed by it that she couldn't even bring herself to eat after 5 p.m. JYP's control over KG seemed to go beyond just the physical, with emotional manipulation playing a huge role. This wasn't limited to KG alone, as another member took action in December 2023, drafting a statement for JYP to address how the girls were being treated mistreated and point out the company's inconsistent messages. In addition to that, earlier in September 2023, a translator reached out to the group privately, revealing that JYP might intentionally be withholding affection to keep the members from becoming spoiled before their debut. This only confirmed the girls' suspicions that the cold treatment was deliberate. One of the most shocking details uncovered in the court documents was the company's restriction on the members listening to or dancing to music from any other label besides JYP. The constant fear from the staff was so overwhelming that the girls were too scared to ask for schedule changes, a situation that deeply affected KG emotionally. If that wasn't enough, in August 2023, the company staff informed the members that their training was in critical condition, pressuring KG to push herself further even when exhausted or injured. The staff controlled nearly every aspect of their lives, forcing them to speak only in Korean, despite some of the members not being able to speak it very well, regulating what they said in interviews, and even dictating how they spent their free time and days off. Overall, the level of surveillance was shocking, as it appears the company had cameras set up in their LA home to monitor the girls. KG only realized this over time when a staff member made offhand remarks that revealed they were being watched, mentioning things that happened in the kitchen and dining area after the girls went to bed. She discovered that the camera was positioned directly across from the dining table, giving the company a clear view of everything they ate. Additionally, KG found a sticker on the pantry ceiling indicating that area was also being monitored, and she provided photos of the cameras as proof. As for her initial accusations that one of the members had been driven to hurt herself, it was revealed that in October 2023, KG became deeply concerned after noticing troubling signs in one of the members, including binge eating, vomiting, and rumors of self-harm. She suspected the member was struggling with an eating disorder, and even more alarmingly, that she had been using a lighter to hurt herself. This led to growing worry among the group. Tragically, this member eventually attempted to take her own life. KG kept evidence of the situation but chose not to reveal the member's identity, wanting to protect her privacy. Despite the severity of the issue, KG's attempts to seek help were dismissed. When she spoke to the studio teacher, he revealed that JYP staff had misled him, telling him the member was only ill. KG even had a recording of their conversation, which she said she could provide if needed. She also raised the issue with another staff member, Eunji Song, but was brushed off with a comment that eating disorders were normal. KG's own mental health had deteriorated to the point where she was missing school, overwhelmed by her struggles. She reached out to staff member Jiwon Sung, telling her that she was thinking about leaving the group. Later that day, she also opened up to another member about the emotional toll everything was taking on her. Through their conversations, it was clear that the entire group was feeling the weight of the situation, with everyone struggling to hold on to their sense of self and confidence. By February 2024, KG was facing a financial crisis. She discovered that she and the other members were buried in a growing unclear debt, with JYP offering no transparency or explanation. The mounting financial pressure only added to the stress she was already under, and she began to feel trapped, as if no matter how hard she worked, she would never be able to escape the burden. This eventually led to a Zoom meeting with the VCHA members and their parents, where the group discussed the toxic environment they were working in. The members openly admitted they were being mistreated and even considered leaving JYP together. Their parents, however, expressed concerns about the consequences of leaving, particularly given JYP's influence. After the meeting, most of the remaining members chose to stay, while KG made the decision to leave on May 19, 2024. On June 6, 2024, KG sent a text to an employee explaining that her decision to leave was based on her need to prioritize her mental health and happiness. She had no idea that this would lead to JYP threatening her with liquidated damages, which would prevent her from working, releasing music, acting, posting on social media, or using her talents to earn a living. The reason why KG prepared this declaration is that JYP had publicly accused her of making false and exaggerated claims while attempting to force the issue into private arbitration, so she wanted to show that whatever she was saying was 100% real. As of May 1st, the lawsuit is still ongoing, and things aren't looking good for JYP USA. KG has presented evidence showing that the staff at JYP violated child labor laws by making the members work late hours. She also provided proof of the overwork, mistreatment, and inadequate nutrition the members faced, with the staff not only allowing but encouraging this behavior. JYP USA has yet to respond to any of the allegations, and at this point, it's hard to imagine any defense that would make them appear innocent in this situation. But while that story shocked international fans, something happening back in Korea sparked just as much outrage. aespa has faced controversies before, but this time it's different. This scandal didn't just cause noise, but it flipped public opinion almost overnight, and people aren't seeing them the same way anymore. So what exactly happened? On May 27th, Karina uploaded several photos taken on the streets of Tokyo. She wore a long white skirt and a red and black jersey with the number 2 on the front and added a single red rose emoji to the caption. To international fans, it looked like a simple outfit post, but in South Korea, the timing and the specific details in the picture raised eyebrows. To understand why, we have to rewind a bit. As you may know, South Korea has been in political turmoil these past few months. Former President Yoon Suk-yeol from the conservative People Power Party shocked the country on December 3rd when he declared martial law. Just over a week later, on December 14th, he was impeached by the National Assembly. Though he was originally supposed to stay in office until 2027, his presidency ended early. On April 4th, 2025, the Constitutional Court unanimously upheld the impeachment, officially removing him from power. Since then, South Korea has had 3 acting presidents, and under the law, a new election must be held within 60 days of a president being removed. That election is now set for June 3rd. The 2 main candidates are Lee Jae-myung, representing the left-leaning Democratic Party, and Kim Moon-soo, the conservative candidate from the PPP. In South Korea, political symbolism is taken very seriously, especially during elections. Red is associated with the conservatives and blue with the liberals, and because of this, many public figures, including K-pop idols, avoid wearing red or blue around election season to steer clear of accusations of political bias. This sensitivity goes even further. In past elections, idols avoided even making peace signs in their photos since the gesture could be interpreted as signaling a vote for candidate number 2, which represents the Conservative Party on ballots. These things might seem harmless, but in the heated atmosphere of South Korean politics, small gestures can be blown out of proportion. During the 2022 election, K-pop idols went out of their way to avoid even the slightest hint of political messaging. Luna's Jinsol and Eve's were extra cautious, making sure their actions couldn't be misread. ATEEZ's Hongjoong even went as far as covering his red hair before heading to the polls, just to avoid sparking any assumptions. But not everyone managed to dodge the heat. 17's Mingyu posted a few casual photos on Instagram wearing a red hoodie, adding a red heart in the caption. That was all it took for things to spiral. People immediately connected the color choice to then candidate Yoon Suk-yeol, the conservative who later won the presidency. Yoon had campaigned on abolishing the Ministry of Gender Equality and Family, claiming it was biased against men, a stance that many women, including a large part of Mingyu's fan base, strongly opposed. Fans felt betrayed, interpreting the red hoodie and heart emoji as a subtle show of support. The criticism came fast, and the post disappeared without a word. Mingyu never addressed it, but the damage had already been done, as even years later, it's still mentioned whenever people talk about idols and politics. When Karina uploaded that photo in the red jersey with the number 2 and topped it off with a rose emoji, it didn't take long for people to react, and not in a good way. The rose symbol had already been linked to the conservative PPP's Rose election slogan, and the number 2 is how their candidate appears on the ballot. To many, it felt like she was openly showing support for the party, and considering her huge influence, the backlash was immediate. It wasn't just the red outfit or the emoji, it was the timing, the symbols, and what they represented in a highly sensitive political climate. For someone as prominent as Karina, it was jarring to see what looked like a political statement, especially one that appeared to favor the PPP. For many young Korean women, seeing her seemingly side with the Conservative Party hit a nerve. Even those who normally stay out of politics couldn't ignore it. Karina ended up deleting the post once the criticism started, but the damage was already done. By then, people across the internet, Korean and international fans alike, were already discussing it, disappointed and frustrated. Comments on online Korean forums said things like, "The conclusion is that she has no brains. No, but why did she delete it? And I'm just thankful that she made it obvious now. First of all, I'll delete all their songs from my playlist and will keep my distance from now on." Some people took it a step further, pointing out that the design on Karina's jersey looked a lot like the rising sun flag, but that's still being debated. A few fans jumped in to defend her, claiming it was all just bad timing and coincidence, but for many, that explanation didn't feel convincing. As a Reddit user put it, "If it was just the color, I wouldn't care. If it was the color and the number, I still wouldn't, but that alongside an emoji that is typically associated with that party, I'm supposed to see all that as a simple misunderstanding?" Some people believe Karina knew exactly how her post would be seen but posted it anyway, which only made things more suspicious. Adding to the controversy, she had already shared a picture of herself wearing a red sweater on Bubble account on May 22nd, but that didn't attract much attention. So posting the pictures with the jersey before the election felt strange, which some thought was a coincidence, but others think it was a deliberate move. Things quickly escalated after Karina's post. As one of the biggest stars right now, the People Power Party didn't waste any time using her popularity to their advantage. Baek Ji-won, the party's spokesperson, gave a shout out to aespa by sharing a photo of all 4 members on her Instagram story with their song Supernova playing in the background. She even posted the cover of their Armageddon album, making her support obvious. PPP fans took it further, creating a meme by mixing the party's candidate Kim Moon-soo's name with Supernova, calling it Kim Moon-soo Supernova. On top of that, the party supporters have flooded Karina's recent Instagram post comments with messages of encouragement, rallying behind her. While some fans still criticize Karina, a growing number of right-wing supporters on Twitter have turned her into a symbol for their cause. They're reposting her photos constantly and even editing her images into election profile pictures, effectively making her a face for the party's campaign. Comments on her post read things like, "Absolutely gorgeous, our nation's little sister Karina, a true national star of South Korea, and patriotic Queen Karina." Even JK Kim Dong-wook jumped into the mix defending Karina. For some background, he's a Korean-Canadian singer known for openly supporting conservative views during the impeachment drama. In response to the Karina controversy, Dong-wook shared an Instagram story quoting someone from a well-known company who said he's outspoken because he isn't tied down by an agency. Then he added, "Hello? These days, even idols from major agencies speak their minds confidently. Wake up." While he didn't name anyone, fans quickly assumed he was hinting at Karina's controversy. Having a figure like Dong-wook, who's already controversial for backing the Conservative Party, seemingly support Karina made the backlash even fiercer. The stir got so intense that SM Entertainment had to step in and address the situation directly. Their first move was asking the PPP spokesperson to take down the Instagram stories featuring aespa. Then the company released an official statement apologizing for the confusion and emphasizing that Karina had no hidden agenda with her post. They pointed out she deleted it quickly to avoid misunderstandings. The statement also promised that the company would be more careful moving forward to prevent anything like this from happening again, and hoped people wouldn't twist Karina's intentions or assume the worst. But not everyone saw it that way. Some were pleasantly surprised at how fast SM reacted, while others thought the apology should have come much sooner, given how serious the backlash was, especially with conservatives using Karina as a campaign symbol. Many fans also accused her of hiding behind the company's statement and demanded she publicly and clearly distance herself from the PPP. Karina did respond, but her message only stirred the pot more. She posted an apology on Bubble addressing her fans directly. She started by saying sorry for causing them worry and explained that she never meant for things to get so out of hand. She wrote, "I totally didn't mean it, but the misunderstanding blew up this big, and I thought that I should address it personally because MY are so worried about it." Following the typical K-pop apology style, Karina promised to be more mindful of her actions going forward and apologized once again for the trouble she caused. This apology only made things worse for a few reasons. For starters, many were unhappy that Karina chose to apologize on a paid fan platform instead of making a public statement herself. While SM did put out an official apology, people expected Karina, who actually posted the controversial photo, to address it publicly too. Then the apology itself came across as pretty half-hearted. Fans complained she waited too long to respond, and when she finally did, her message was way too brief given how serious the situation was. People couldn't help but compare it to her apology after dating rumors with actor Lee Jae-wook, where she wrote a long handwritten letter on her public Instagram that reached way more people. They weren't saying she needed to apologize for dating, but the difference in how she handled these two situations didn't sit well. As a commenter put it, "It's just common sense. Handle a Bubble slip-up on Bubble, handle an Instagram slip-up on Instagram." On top of that, some fans pointed out that she never clearly denied voting for the Conservative Party or distanced herself from them. Instead, she just called it a misunderstanding and apologized for worrying her fans. This led to accusations that maybe she was testing the waters with her post, and when the backlash blew up, she quickly tried to pass it off as a mistake, but of course these accusations haven't been proven. Although Karina isn't likely to lose her core fans and will stay a major idol, her image has definitely taken a hit. This controversy will probably stick with her for a long time. She's been picking up support from right-wing and incel groups, but many South Korean fans, some who even protested for the previous president's impeachment in her name, have openly criticized and condemned her. Things got worse when she showed up at an award ceremony shortly after, smiling and laughing as she accepted an award on stage. That moment made many netizens think she wasn't sorry at all and didn't take the situation seriously, which only fueled the anger and disappointment among the public, with comments saying, "Of course she's allowed to laugh, but this is a bit." People, including aespa's own fans, are saying Karina needs to be more careful about how she shows herself to the public, even if some things might not be directly connected. We don't actually know her political views or who she voted for, so a lot of what's been said is just guesswork. Still, most agree that whether she meant it or not, that she should have thought twice before posting, especially since fellow idols faced backlash for similar things not too long ago. What's your take? Do you think she did it on purpose, or was this just a coincidence that blew up way bigger than expected? Share your thoughts in the comments, and thanks for watching. But they weren't the only idols making headlines for the wrong reasons. Kiss of Life had been steadily rising as one of the most successful groups of K-pop's fifth generation, with each comeback bringing in more fans and their sales and streaming numbers continuously increasing. However, that momentum took a sudden turn after Julie's birthday livestream, which led many fans to withdraw their support, leaving the group's future uncertain and sparking discussions about where they go from here. From the start, Kiss of Life made it clear that they were creating their own path, not just following trends. Even before their official debut, they took an unconventional approach by introducing each member through solo releases, allowing their individuality to shine before coming together for their self-titled mini-album. The members themselves also attracted plenty of interest. Natty had already gained recognition from competing on 16, the survival show that launched twice, and Idol School, and though she didn't make the final lineup, she later debuted as a soloist. Julie spent 3 years training under the Black label before moving to S2 Entertainment, while Belle, the daughter of 90s singer Shim Shin, had already made a name for herself in the industry by writing songs for artists like Le Sserafim, Purple Kiss, and Mion. She was also credited for background vocals on tracks like Le Sserafim's Unforgiven and Mark's Child, both of which drew significant attention. Coming from a smaller company, S2 Entertainment, they weren't expected to make a big impact, but they quickly proved otherwise. Though their fusion of R&B and Western influences made them less mainstream in Korea at first, they gained massive traction internationally. Their album sales reflected this growing buzz. What started as 759 copies on day one skyrocketed to over 25,000, an unexpected leap for a rookie group. However, their debut wasn't without its share of controversy. Just weeks after they hit the stage, an old clip of Julie resurfaced, causing an uproar online. In the video, she was seen performing B.O.B's 2012 song Strange Clouds and rapping along to the N-word, sparking widespread criticism. Given that she was born and raised in Hawaii, many argued that she was fully aware of the word's offensive nature and that there was no excuse for using it. The backlash was swift and intense, leaving Julie with no choice but to address the situation. On July 22, 2023, she posted an apology on Twitter explaining that she hadn't paid close attention to the lyrics while singing the cover and deeply regretted her mistake. She went on to say, "This incident made me realize how my careless actions can cause harm to many people, and during my 6 years of training period, I educated myself and matured." Julie also seemed determined to be careful and thoughtful in the future, promising not to repeat the same mistake. In the end, she apologized to those hurt by her actions, vowing to improve and continue growing. Her apology was generally well received, with many appreciating her personal acknowledgement of the issue. Some fans felt it would have been better if the apology had come before her debut, but they were still glad she addressed it. While the scandal resurfaced occasionally, it didn't seem to significantly affect Kiss of Life's growing popularity. As they continued to develop their sound, Kiss of Life leaned more into R&B and hip-hop, further refining their unique style. Their tracks Nobody Knows and Midas Touch built on the success of Natty's solo hit Sugarcoat, which had already proven that these genres fit the group perfectly. By 2024, individual members began gaining recognition beyond the group. Natty joined forces with Jay Park on Taxi Blur, while Julie had a standout moment when she was featured on Twice's Nyeon's solo album NA. These collaborations not only showcased their individual talents, but also helped bring more eyes to the group. Additionally, their recent releases, Sticky and Igloo, along with their viral dance covers on TikTok, skyrocketed them to stardom, solidifying their place as one of the most adored groups of the generation. This is why fans were ecstatic to hear that they would have their next comeback in June, especially since it had been months since their last release, Lose Yourself, in October. Comments from K-pop fans said things like, "Summer 2025 will be theirs," and they're taking that Summer Queen's title very seriously. However, things took a turn on the day of Julie's birthday livestream, but even before it started, fans were already feeling a bit uneasy. The group had shared an e-invitation on social media a few hours prior to the event, which raised concerns right away. The dress code was listed as old school hip-hop, a choice that didn't sit well with many, given K-pop's long history of cultural insensitivity. Adding to the tension, Belle had posted something cryptic just days before, making fans even more wary about what was to come. She had sent a message on the fan platform Bubble writing, "Please look forward to Julie Unnie's birthday content too, and promise you won't leave the fandom after watching it." At first, fans weren't sure what to make of Belle's vague post. Some assumed she was joking, while others thought she might have been exaggerating. But when the live stream happened on April 2nd, the reality was far worse than anyone expected. The members appeared wearing outfits and hairstyles that drew heavily from Black culture, including cornrows, bantu knots, oversized gold chains, and hats. As if that wasn't bad enough, they exaggerated their mannerisms, spoke in a way that mocked Black people, and even gave Bell the nickname Lil Taco Bell. Throughout the entire live stream, they didn't seem to realize or care how offensive their actions were, making no effort to stop or reconsider. Given this, the backlash was immediate, with both fans and non-fans calling them out for being disrespectful and taking things too far. A Twitter user wrote, "They would be nothing without Black people. Their music is nothing but a copy of what our people have already created hits with. For them to get on live and make a mockery of us for their tens of thousands of fans to laugh at is nasty." Many also argued that there was no excuse for their actions, or it couldn't even be said that they didn't know any better. Bell's bubble message alone suggested they were fully aware the live stream would spark backlash. She even asked fans not to leave the fandom because of it. Additionally, as mentioned, Julie had already faced criticism for saying the N-word and publicly apologized. And given that she grew up in Hawaii until she was 13, it was hard to believe she didn't understand the weight of her actions. Bell was also born in the US, making it even more unreasonable to assume ignorance played a role in what they did. Another user wrote, "I agree Kiss of Life should have known better, but have we considered that they did in fact know better and just don't care?" After everything unfolded, fans flooded the company with emails urging both the agency and the members to take responsibility and apologize. In a widely shared email template, the fans acknowledged that the group likely hadn't intended to be offensive, but still described the live stream as tone-deaf, inappropriate, and ignorant. They emphasized that even if the stereotypes were used unintentionally, they still carried harmful consequences that could damage the group's reputation. The message concluded with a clear demand for the members to issue a sincere apology and for all traces of the live stream to be removed. The apology the fans had been asking for came just a day later. On April 3rd, the company deleted the live stream from all platforms and released a statement claiming they never meant to offend anyone and that the live stream was meant to celebrate hip-hop culture, which has heavily influenced Kiss of Life's music. They admitted they had failed to recognize the negative cultural implications and promised to be more mindful when referencing other cultures in the future. The statement ended by reassuring fans that the live stream had been permanently removed. However, the apology only made things worse. Fans immediately disliked the fact that it was the company speaking, not the members themselves, which made it seem like an attempt to shield them from responsibility rather than an expression of genuine remorse. The wording also frustrated many. Rather than directly acknowledging the communities affected, the statement vaguely referred to certain races and the culture, avoiding any real accountability. One particular line, "We apologize for our shortcomings in recognizing the negative cultural implications that our content would be perceived," stood out as it seemed to shift the blame onto viewers for taking offense rather than admitting fault. Some speculated that this was all a marketing stunt, given that their comeback was announced on the same day as the live stream, but if that was the plan, it backfired spectacularly as they ended up driving fans away, with many publicly declaring they could no longer support the group. So while Kiss of Life were once seen as a group destined for success, many are now questioning what lies ahead for them. Some believe this controversy won't have a lasting impact, arguing that other idols and groups have done worse yet still maintain strong careers. They point out that history has shown time and again that certain fans will overlook insensitivity and cultural mockery when it comes to their favorite artists. However, others think this will leave a permanent mark. While disbandment seems out of the question, regaining the level of support they once had may be impossible. Unlike some groups with strong domestic followings, Kiss of Life relied heavily on their international fan base as their popularity soared with every viral hit and their members were widely adored by fans and non-fans. But now, many of those same fans are turning away, unwilling to support a group that took so much inspiration from Black culture only to mock it in return. Fan accounts dedicated to the group have already shut down, denouncing their actions, while others are shifting their attention to different artists. The true extent of the damage will likely be revealed in June when their comeback drops, but based on the overwhelming backlash, it's clear this won't be something they can easily move past. However, as it turns out, cultural missteps weren't limited to just one group this year. Ever since word got out that the Black label was planning a co-ed group with some big names, the buzz hasn't stopped. But things took a sharp turn when one of the members, who goes by Tarzzan, started facing backlash almost immediately after being introduced. So what's the real reason that everyone wants him to be kicked out of the group? On June 6th, reports surfaced that the Black label was preparing to debut a new group, and this time, it wouldn't be a typical idol group. A media outlet claimed that Teddy was was working to debut a co-ed group project, and not long after, the Black label confirmed the news. A representative stated that a co-ed group was indeed in the works, though they didn't share many details, only that more information would be released soon. Following the confirmation, speculation about the group's possible members quickly spread. One of the first names mentioned was Jungkook, who was originally supposed to debut in the hype girl group ALLDAY, but was either removed from or left the final lineup shortly before debut without any explanation. Another name that came up was Jo Woo-chan, who was also linked to HYBE as a potential member of the group Trainee A, which was ultimately scrapped before debuting. Bailey Sok was also rumored to be part of the lineup. She's a well-known choreographer who has worked with big names in the K-pop industry like SHINee, EXO's Kai, Taemin, Blackpink's Lisa, Big Bang's Taeyang, aespa, and Red Velvet, among others. Annie Moon was another rumored member. While she has no known background in the entertainment industry, she's widely recognized for being the granddaughter of Lee Myung-hee, the chairwoman of Shinsegae, which owns E-Mart and several high-end department stores in Korea. Lee Myung-hee is also the fifth daughter of Samsung founder Lee Byung-chul, connecting Annie to high-profile relatives, including Samsung chairman Lee Jae-yong and CJ Group chairman Lee Jae-hun. The final rumored member was model Lee Chae-won, known as Tarzzan Boy. His modeling portfolio includes work for Samsung, McDonald's, Musinsa, LG, League of Legends, Calvin Klein, Reebok, Uniqlo, Hyundai, and more. He has appeared in fashion magazines like Vogue, GQ, Dazed, Elle, and W, and has been walking runways since 2022. Even before the group was officially revealed, Chae-won was already causing a stir. He wasn't exactly unknown to K-pop fans, as he had appeared in New Jeans' Supernatural music video, starred in Idol's I Do, and had done a photo shoot with Card So Mean. However, once people started checking out his social media accounts, the excitement took a turn. Though his looks easily matched the standard of current K-pop idols, what really got people talking was the name he gave himself, Tarzzan Boy. He described himself as a wild jungle boy, and that label didn't sit well with a lot of people online, with a Reddit user writing, "Just his Instagram username alone disgusted me. It's 2025, there's no excuse, and I look forward to their disbandment if they actually debut." It got even worse when people looked through his posts. He had posted photos of himself wearing box braids, cornrows, and other hairstyles tied to Black culture. And it wasn't only for photo shoots or styling gigs, as he also chose to wear them on his own. That, along with his use of grills and durags in several posts, made many call him out for cultural appropriation. To add to it, some even pointed out that he used AV, or African American Vernacular English, on multiple occasions, which made the backlash even stronger. Understandably so, people reacted strongly and immediately. Some tried to defend him by guessing he might be half Black, but there's no confirmation of that anywhere. As one commenter put it, "As of right now, it seems to be YG fans working overtime to take the heat off him without outright admitting he's doing something wrong." Some claimed he was merely appreciating Black culture, but those excuses didn't hold up for long. Most saw Chae-won's actions as clear and simple cultural appropriation. Not to mention, given YG Entertainment's history of exploiting Black culture for profit, it seemed they were deliberately pushing this image with him. Many hoped he would stay behind the scenes as a trainee or model, but unfortunately, he was announced as part of the group anyway. On June 9th, the Black label officially introduced the new group, which is temporarily called ALLDAY Project, setting their debut for June 23rd. Additionally, the 5 members fans had speculated about were confirmed: Annie Moon, Bailey Sok, Woo-chan, Jungkook, and of course Chae-won. The company highlighted this group as a unique collaboration of 5 standout talents, each well known in their own area, coming together to break creative limits and offer something fresh and original. Alongside the announcement, a group photo was shared showing all 5 artists. However, many fans were upset when they saw Chae-won sporting braids again, both in the teaser and in a photo he posted on his Instagram to announce his debut. In that photo, he held a printed paper matching the teaser's design. This sparked even stronger reactions from fans who were already unhappy, pushing their frustration to a new level. Comments under his own Instagram picture said things like, "Leave the group already," and "Career ended as soon as it started." There were some who defended him, arguing it's just a hairstyle and people shouldn't be too harsh. However, the majority of K-pop fans have made their stance very clear. They want the Black label to remove him from the group completely, or else they won't support the group's debut. This frustration is so strong that the hashtag #TarzzanOut has been trending, with fans openly expressing their disappointment and anger about his inclusion in the lineup. To explain, before this backlash, excitement was high for the group's debut for a few key reasons. To begin with, ALLDAY Project is the first group to debut in a long time without any minors, which many fans see as a positive. The other members also generated buzz because, as mentioned, they are either already beloved or have unique appeal. Additionally, longtime fans of Jungkook, Woo-chan, and Bailey have been eagerly waiting for the moment these talented artists could debut in a proper group. The news that all 3 would debut together only fueled the excitement and raised expectations to an entirely new level. But even with so much potential surrounding the group, Chaewon's constant choice to wear braids and the ongoing issues with cultural appropriation have completely dampened the enthusiasm that fans once had. Many feel that his appearance and behavior have taken attention away from what could have been a fresh and exciting debut, casting a shadow over the group's overall promise and leaving fans disappointed. Because of this, many have publicly declared they will withdraw their support entirely and boycott the group's debut unless changes are made. A Twitter user wrote, "We could have gotten a perfect lineup, but then they decided to add this guy." On the other hand, some fans say they would support the other 4 members but not Chaewon, hoping to separate him from the group. However, many argue that any support for the group, whether it's streaming their songs, watching videos, or buying albums and merchandise, ultimately benefits Chaewon too. Because of this, they believe the only real option is to boycott the entire group until the black label steps up, either making Chaewon apologize and reflect on his actions, or removing him altogether. Unfortunately, a lot of people think the company doesn't care enough to do either. Chaewon's use of black culture, especially his hairstyles, isn't hidden. They're visible in his Instagram posts and even the official teasers. The company is fully aware of this, but seems to be ignoring the criticism, even promoting him heavily despite the backlash. This approach feels intentional, almost like a calculated move, and many believe that, sadly, nothing will change because people will continue to support the group anyway. Some will ignore the situation because they love the other members, while others simply don't care about Chaewon's behavior and think standing the group, even before they released any music, is what matters most. The situation only escalated when online users took a closer look at Chaewon's social media activity, specifically who he was following. Among those he followed was Tory Lanez, the Canadian rapper who, in 2023, was found guilty on 3 felony charges related to an incident involving Megan Thee Stallion and a semi-automatic firearm. This discovery struck a nerve with many fans, who saw it as a silent endorsement of Lanez's actions. The backlash grew rapidly, fueling widespread anger and sparking a strong call for Chaewon to be held responsible for his choices. In regards to this, an account said, "Tarzzan is not only a culture vulture, he followed Tory Lanez on Instagram. Just sick." Some fans tried to defend Chaewon by offering different explanations for why he follows Tory Lanez. A few believe he might simply enjoy his music, which could explain the follow without any deeper meaning. Others suggest that maybe Chaewon isn't aware of the controversy surrounding Tory and is just a fan without knowing the full story. However, many people find this hard to believe since Tory Lanez's case has been widely covered in the media, and Lanez himself has publicly referenced the situation multiple times. Because of how well known the case is, many think it's unlikely Chaewon is truly unaware. While it's possible there's more to the story, at this point a lot of fans aren't willing to give him the benefit of the doubt based on what they've seen so far. The situation took another negative turn when it became clear that the group's concept might lean heavily on cultural appropriation, or at least something that feels like a poor imitation of black culture. Just from the initial teaser and seeing how the black label allowed Chaewon to wear braids without addressing the backlash, many fans suspect the group will follow the familiar yet tired YG hip-hop theme. This kind of concept that K-pop companies, and especially YG, have been presenting for years has grown stale for a lot of people, and more importantly, it's seen as offensive by many who feel it misrepresents and disrespects the culture it borrows from. This choice only added to the disappointment and frustration surrounding the group's debut. As a commenter put it, "If you reposted this with the title change to make it look like a second-gen throwback post, I 100% wouldn't question its legitimacy." Following the release of the teasers and considering Teddy's often criticized past with what some call hip-hop concepts, fans have voiced concerns about what to expect from this new group. Many are bracing themselves for Chaewon to take on the role of the rapper, likely using Blackson and incorporating a heavy amount of Avi into the lyrics. There's also a strong feeling that the group's music will draw heavily from the styles and sounds once popularized by Blackpink and 21, almost as if recycling elements from their catalogs rather than bringing something fresh and original. This anticipation has left fans uneasy and skeptical about the group's direction. The group's debut is arriving quicker than most anticipated, stirring a lot of curiosity about how the public will respond. With so much controversy and calls for a boycott, many are wondering if fans will actually follow through and refuse to support them, or if, despite everything, the group will still manage to gain a strong following and loyal supporters. How do you feel about this group and everything going on with Chaewon? Do you believe these controversies will block their path to success, or do you think the group will keep moving forward like nothing ever happened? As if that wasn't enough, the next idol's downfall was even more dramatic. Going from a simple hiatus to fully getting removed from the group, the Boyz member Haknyeon has been making headlines for the past few days, and the entire internet is in flames over what exactly the truth behind the matter is and whether he truly solicited a woman's services. On the morning of June 16th, fans of the Boyz were met with unexpected news as it was announced that Haknyeon would be going on a temporary hiatus from group activities. The official official statement posted by the group's agency 100 simply said that he would be stepping away due to personal reasons. With no other details being shared, the matter was quite suspicious from the very start. However, with the company apologizing, many saw this as a temporary issue. This doesn't mean that fans didn't worry, especially as the group has found themselves involved in several small controversies as of late, including a huge partying scandal. Online communities lit up with fans trying to make sense of the situation, with some even guessing that it might be a family issue, especially given the way Haknyeon had looked pretty down during a recent fan meeting in Japan. Others hoped he was just taking a break for mental health reasons, suggesting he'd return soon. Meanwhile, posts all over the internet have been full of supportive messages like, "Wherever he is, I just hope he's okay, and I hope he will settle things up smoothly so he can come back to us sooner." Make sure to subscribe to the channel to follow along with more news regarding the matter, and don't forget to leave your feelings in the comments below. Despite how fans felt, the matter was very final as the agency announced they had become aware of issues involving Ju Haknyeon's private life and had paused his activities to investigate. After confirming the seriousness of the situation, they made it clear that they no longer felt they could trust him as an artist, and even mentioned that they had spoken with the other members and reached the decision together. The language in the statement was careful, but it was very clear that something serious had happened, and Haknyeon was out of the group for good. While the company didn't share exact details at the time, the news was already starting to spread everywhere online. And it turns out that the case Haknyeon had gotten involved in was indeed extremely serious, as not long before the official announcement, a Japanese media outlet reportedly sent an inquiry to 100 regarding Haknyeon. According to their report, Haknyeon had been spotted in late May meeting privately with a woman identified as Asuka Karara, a former Japanese adult video actress who is now an influencer. The meeting was said to have taken place at a bar in Roppongi, Tokyo, and witnesses allegedly saw Haknyeon and Asuka drinking together, with some moments of physical closeness, like hugging and her resting her chin on his shoulder, being noted. According to them, artist and former 100 executive producer MC Mong was also in their company. He too was recently terminated from the company, around the time of Haknyeon's initial hiatus, and it wasn't until the reports about Haknyeon that the pieces started to connect. When asked about the situation, 100 confirmed that they had received the inquiry and had spoken with Haknyeon, where he, after being presented with some evidence, actually admitted to the happenings. This response alone made it clear that at least some part of the report was true, though the company didn't go into exact specifics. At the time, it sounded like Haknyeon was being punished for dating someone, which is why many fans rallied to his side and demanded that the company shouldn't make an issue out of it. Why is this inappropriate? Her previous job has nothing to do with who she is as a person. He can date whoever he likes. However, it quickly turned out that this wasn't just about Haknyeon allegedly dating a former adult video star, but according to insider accounts, he had actually been accused of soliciting Asuka's services during that same meeting. The brought-up accusations are actually illegal under Korean law, even if they take place outside of the country, which could result in fines or even jail time in severe circumstances. And with reports claiming that Haknyeon had admitted to his doings after being confronted with evidence, it has shocked netizens all over the world. Some expressed disappointment and anger, writing things like, "That's worse than just dating. Being caught dating would have been better." And they say we don't date, but this is the reality in Korea. Others questioned why exactly he would even ever go down this route, with one netizen saying, if he was going to date, he should have done it properly. He could have eaten well at least. At the same time, there were signs that this sudden shift had deeply affected not only fans, but also Haknyeon's fellow members. Around the same time the hiatus news initially broke, fellow The Boyz member Eric was seen crying after finishing an episode of Idol Radio. He had hosted the show as usual, but fans noticed that as he left and greeted them from his car, he appeared to be overwhelmed with emotion, even covering his face with his hands. Haknyeon's initial hiatus was announced on June 16th at 10:20 a.m. KST, while Idol Radio began at 9 p.m. KST that same day. The timing raised many questions, with fans at first believing that he was perhaps overwhelmed with the ongoing rumors surrounding multiple members of the group. But after Haknyeon's scandal was revealed, fans started to connect the dots, assuming Eric may have already known the full story before the public did and was instead mourning his fellow group member and the trust that had been broken between the group and fans. Fans immediately saw the situation with new eyes, as many now felt extremely bad for the situation that Eric was put in, writing, "We know now, Eric, it's okay, you must be feeling broken too." Whether Eric's reaction was directly related to Haknyeon or not, it was definitely clear that emotions were running high behind the scenes, scenes, and that none of the other members had it easy either. The company had indeed stated that the decision for Haknyeon to leave had been made after discussions with the rest of the members, and for many longtime fans, the idea that Haknyeon's exit was agreed upon by the team made the whole thing even more heartbreaking. As netizens and fans are taking in the news, the group members have also spoken out after the news dropped, sharing their own feelings on the situation with fans. In K-pop, it's common for companies to tightly control statements during scandals. Often, group members stay silent for weeks, if not longer, as agencies work behind the scenes. But this time, the members of the Boyz didn't wait, which is quite unusual in these situations. Within a day of Haknyeon's removal, several of them shared personal and emotional messages with fans, which has led many to believe the decision for him to leave was already made before the public was told about the hiatus. Eric was also the first member to speak up on his personal feelings on the situation, perhaps knowing that fans had been so worried for him before the news even dropped. He posted a heartfelt message where he admitted he didn't know what words could comfort fans, but still wanted to try, writing, "I sincerely apologize for the recent wave of upsetting news that has caused hurt and disappointment. I exist and keep going because of you." To many, it was obvious that he himself was struggling to even process the situation, which is why all he could do was hope to try and comfort all the fans who had been through everything with them. Jungkook also reached out to fans, sharing that the thought of their fans was the only thing getting him through this, saying, "You're tired, aren't you? Just seeing your smiling faces made me happy, but now I feel sad, worried I might not get to see you smile anymore." He mentioned how he had leaned on fans in the past and asked if it was okay if he were to do it again. Q kept his message short but honest, admitting how sorry he was that this was happening in the first place, perhaps even alluding to all the other scandals the group has been getting into lately, as he spoke about how he feels like the group has only been causing fans pain lately. Juyeon similarly apologized for what the fans had to go through, and Yeonjae even dropped that if he could go back and change things, he would do it, which truly points to how much pain the members have been feeling throughout all of this. Taevan took things even further with his message, as he made sure to include all the international fans who were waiting for news by writing his message both in Korean and English, apologizing for everything that has been going on. "We, who should always be a source of strength for the B, haven't been able to do that recently, and that makes me feel even more sorry." In every message, everyone could see a recurring pattern, as it was clear that all members have deep regret over how much fans have been hurting lately, and are trying their best to try and support their fans with a renewed promise to work hard and do better. None of the members mentioned Haknyeon by name, but the context was clear, and while they didn't spell out what had happened, the emotions in their writing made it obvious just how serious the situation was. But it wasn't just the other members who've tried to comfort fans, as Haknyeon's own response was also posted to social media. Late that same night, Haknyeon posted a handwritten letter to Instagram where he directly addressed the rumors about him engaging in illegal activity. He actually firmly denied the report, saying, "While it is true that I was at that gathering, it is completely false that I engaged in any illegal activity, such as the soliciting that is being mentioned." He also apologized for causing concern and said he was reflecting on his actions. But his statement only led to more confusion, since while Haknyeon insists he did not do anything illegal, the speed of the company's decision to remove him and the serious tone of the members' responses suggested otherwise. If there truly had been no legal wrongdoing, many fans question why the company would choose to cut ties with him so fast. Especially considering how central Haknyeon was to the group, this reaction feels extreme unless something serious had happened behind the scenes. His words don't exactly align with the version shared by the company either, and that mismatch has left fans unsure of what to believe. Some posts even highlighted the harsh reality of the situation. A man saying he's innocent does not make him innocent. Seeing as how one report had said that Haknyeon had actually admitted to doing the things he was accused of, fans had a hard time deciding what the truth was. In fact, some netizens even pointed out that the letter itself was written quite weirdly, which also put into question its authenticity. The spacing in the sentences was quite awkward, and he even broke up the word worried, which many found quite unusual. Many netizens even mocked him for this move, leaving comments such as, "Did he copy out whatever someone wrote for him? The heck is worried." However, others have also pointed out that if he really was guilty, the best way to deal with things would be to stay silent at the moment, and it wouldn't make much sense to lie either if the evidence was indeed there to convict him of a crime. Currently, it is said a police report has been filed against Haknyeon considering the illegal wrongdoings. However, it's unclear what exactly the report will lead to, as no further information has been disclosed, at least not publicly. But Haknyeon's statement and the fact that he's speaking at all could mean he's not ready to disappear from the industry. One reason why he might be trying to tell his side of the story and insert doubt into the media might also be to make sure that he isn't completely blacklisted from pursuing a career in the entertainment industry. Though seeing as the rest of the group's members have even unfollowed him on social media by now, it's unlikely that anything Haknyeon could say would put him back in the company company's good graces, and if he is ever to return to the industry, it's hard to imagine that it would be alongside the boy. But idols weren't the only ones caught up in scandals this year. Recently, the news of a CEO being involved with a young K-pop idol had sparked controversy online, especially when it was revealed that he was actually married with children. What began as rumors quickly spiraled into a full-blown controversy, eventually leading to the sudden and complete disbandment of one of the industry's rising rookie groups, IHOTU. IHOTU, managed by EFG Music, a subsidiary of JDB Entertainment, debuted in October 2024 with their song Voyage to Unknown. As the first idol group under EFG Music, IHOTU was supposed to represent a bold new direction for JDB Entertainment, which was traditionally known for managing comedians like Kim Junho, Kim Dae-hee, and Yoo Sung-moo. Things were looking up as IHOTU entered the scene with a special three-member lineup, Negi, Amu, and Mina, hoping to make a lasting impression in the competitive K-pop industry. However, just 7 months after their debut, the group's future was abruptly and tragically cut short. The chain of events began when reports surfaced on June 17th that a CEO and an idol were involved in an inappropriate relationship. And it didn't take long before the CEO was identified as JDB Entertainment's CEO Lee Kang-hee, a married father of two, who was involved with one of the idols under his agency. Though initial reports also withheld the idol's identity, it did not take long for netizens to piece together the situation as compromising photos of the CEO, and the idol began circulating online, making it easy for netizens to identify the idol as one of the IHOTU group members, Mina. The photos seemed to show Lee Kang-hee and Mina together in intimate situations such as holding hands after work events, riding alone in his luxury car, and sharing private moments that left little room for speculation. As more evidence came to light, fans quickly realized that Mina's abrupt departure from the group on June 12th could be directly connected to the scandal. This revelation only fueled further outrage and confusion as the two events seemed to be directly connected. The official IHOTU account's announcement revealed that Mina would be suspending her activities going forward, but that her fellow members, Negi and Amu, would be continuing their group activities. Seeing the initial announcement, netizens took to social media to voice their confusion and anger, even noting how just hours before the announcement of Mina's withdrawal, she had been active and seemingly fully committed to group activities. Seeing as no actual explanation was given as to why Mina would be stepping back, and whether or not it was her choice, fans were unsure if the matter was handled by the guidelines. However, seeing the related news regarding JDB's CEO, many immediately connected Mina's departure with the emerging scandal, questioning why the agency wasn't being more transparent from the start. As public pressure mounted, JDB Entertainment released a statement confirming that CEO Lee Kang-hee had indeed engaged in an inappropriate relationship with Mina and had since stepped down from his executive roles. While the company attempted to frame the CEO's resignation as an unrelated matter, it was clear that the scandal had already set off some alarms within the company, which possibly led to the decision to release the truth to the public. The initial announcement of the group continuing without Mina was seen by many as an attempt at damage control, but that plan was seemingly abandoned as the scandal gained momentum and the backlash escalated due to the nature of the issues. In just a matter of days, the company made a complete reversal, declaring that all member contracts had been terminated and that IHOTU would disband entirely. In the end, JDB Entertainment attempted to soften the blow by stating that the disbandment was the result of mutual agreement and for the consideration of each member's artistic direction and emotional safety. They also emphasized that any further discussion on the matter would be highly unlikely and formulated Mina's departure as her decision to graduate from the group. Mina herself has since deactivated all of her official social media accounts, completely disappearing from the spotlight without making a single statement. However, EFG Music's collapse has extended beyond just the group's termination, as not only were all of IHOTU's scheduled activities cancelled, including promotions for their upcoming second album, fan sign events, and concerts, but refunds were also issued through their social media, and fans were asked to return physical merchandise for full reimbursement. The scale at which the company had shut down the project is one rarely, if ever, seen in the industry, as it seems like the overheads decided that all of their investments had no further use. The agency also announced that all of their operations would be suspended indefinitely while they conducted internal audits and sought legal counsel in order to find a way out of this scandal. It is clear that they aren't ready to go down without a fight either, as reports have said the company is vowing legal action against those responsible for leaking the photos, despite the damage looking quite irreversible. The response to these decisions has been harsh, as many fans have been baffled by the company's course of action, since this feels like a betrayal of trust, not just for the fans, but also for the members, as not even an apology has been issued. IHOTU had only just begun their journey, and the fact that their careers were derailed due to the reckless behavior of someone in a position of power has left fans feeling helpless and angry. However, while the scandal surrounding the group has has led to the termination of contracts and the official disbandment of the group, fans were surprised to learn that the remaining two members, Negi and Amuro, would still be continuing with some group activities, at least for now. Despite their contracts being terminated, the company has allowed and even agreed to support them as they fulfill previously scheduled live performances and other engagements that had been planned prior to the scandal breaking in order to give the group a fair ending. According to a company statement, these ongoing activities were made possible after internal staff took over some of the leading decisions as the CEO, Lee Kang-hee, was no longer involved in the company's affairs. The staff's decision to allow Negi and Amuro to move forward with select performances seems to have been a mutual agreement from both sides. However, it's unclear whether that is actually the case, as the girls themselves have given no actual statement. And even as they stand on stage, it's clear that the weight of the scandal continues to loom heavily over every appearance they make, as everything has been reworked to fit 2 instead of 3 members. The decision has left fans with deeply mixed emotions. On one hand, many are relieved that Negi and Amuro have not been entirely robbed of the opportunity to continue their passion and connect with their supporters. On the other hand, many fans feel like it is unfair to have them perform and to be the face of a scandal that they had no part in, especially when they haven't been able to make any statements of their own. One netizen voiced their thoughts, saying, "Kinda sad how the other girls have to suffer because of her though. Everyone's comments are disabled and their accounts are private now. I can't imagine what is going on in their heads knowing they have to finish off the scheduled performances after all this." Others have even tried to speak on behalf of the girls, asking for some sort of compensation for what has been done to them, with someone writing, "I hope their group members are properly compensated for all the damage this has done to them." For many of those witnessing the scandal, the way things have unfolded has been quite unpleasant to witness, as it isn't easy seeing young idols who've had their entire career in front of them be forced to navigate the aftermath of something their former CEO had done, and on top of it all, missing a group member and friend. Many netizens have also taken this opportunity to shine a light on what they believe is something that happens more often than anyone believes in the entertainment industry. The nature of the affair, involving a young idol and a powerful married executive, has sparked discussions about some of the toxic power imbalances that exist behind closed doors in K-pop, with netizens saying it's depressing and revolting to know that this is probably quite common in this industry. In fact, some even pointed out how many of the comments seem to be putting blame on Mina and how problematic that is in such cases. One user wrote, "Watch as the industry and the internet blame the woman for this, even though the man who is married and perhaps exploiting his position is to blame." Adding to the emotional blow, Mina's presence has already been wiped clean from the group's official materials. She has been erased from the group's media branding, information about her has been erased from Korean wiki pages, and all YouTube videos featuring the group have been deleted. Even the link to IHO2 has disappeared from JDB Entertainment's website, showing just how dedicated the company is to erasing any trace of the scandal as quickly as possible.